In this video, I am going to talk about the history of the Soviet Union. Our story begins from 1905. During this time, Russia was facing both internal and external challenges. Internal challenges in terms that people were not happy. There were cases of starvation, peasants, workers, they were exploited. On the external front, Russia got defeated in hands of Japan. So the Russia's ambition to influence Asia was shattered. Now these situations, the situation that was erupting and the long prolonged dissatisfaction that was among the people, that would soon erupt into February Revolution. February Revolution was instrumental in throwing the Tsar from Russia. On that day, women took the streets and they all protested against the high bread prices, against the shortages of food and various other things. Gradually, men also joined the protest, and later on it was seen that even the guards, the soldiers, they also joined the protest, and as a result the Tsar rule was ended, and after that a democratic government was elected. After February Revolution, a new revolution was waiting. The government that was formed after the rule of Tsar was not able to deliver what the people of Russia were looking for, and hence Bolshevik had made a plan to execute armed revolution. According to their plan, they have decided to go and execute their plan by November 7, and they captured various strategic institutions like railway, telephone booths, post offices, and etc. And meanwhile, Keleninsky, who was running the government, he ran away. However, as it was expected the armed revolution to be a bloody revolution, it was not like that. A very power transfer from Keleninsky to the Bolshevik party was a very smooth transition. From the Bolshevik revolution, Lenin emerged as a new hero, as a new leader. He introduced various reforms, such as he nationalized all the banks and the lands. Second, production were controlled by state. Number third, factories to be owned by workers. Now let's talk about how Soviet Union was formed. In 1924, a new constitution was formed. All the Soviet republics, such as Russian, Ukrainian, Armenian, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, etc., were brought under USSR. These republics were formed on the basis of the nationality and equality, and the most important part is that the constitution gave them the right to secede from the USSR. Now let's talk about the achievement of USSR. Speaking about the achievements, Lenin's model had actually helped USSR to overcome its poverty and the various challenges that the Russia was facing in the past. New reforms were introduced, such as 5-year plan was introduced, and this 5-year plan, the planned economy, actually helped Russia to build its state from the scratch. And the interesting part is this, that when in the entire world Great Depression was going on and people were suffering, USSR was the one which had prevented its people from becoming the victim of the Great Depression. Now, let us look at how Russia had planned to develop her economy. So the first 5-year plan from 1928 to 32 laid emphasis on the collective farming. Next, the industries were developed in the second or third 5-year plan. Meanwhile, so it can be said that Russia, through planned economy, had carefully and strategically built built a very strong economy. Now let's talk about why Soviet Union had collapsed. Number one, top brass of the Communist Party were responsible for this. The party that was expected to be very democratic ended up running by the same set of people who were controlling the party and the government. And by the time had progressed, it was seen that there were corruption and nepotism. Number two, policies of Gorbachev. Gorbachev, he brought certain reforms in the society, in the Russian economy, but unfortunately Russia was not ready for that. When he opened the economy and when he was very democratic, he wanted to listen to the criticism, he let go the political prisoners. Well, that was very appreciable move. But in terms of whatever the steps that he took in order to improve the economy, that was a failure. And the Russian people had to suffer more because of the policies that were introduced by Gorbachev. Soviet, the feeling of socialism was not very much adapted by the people of Russia, and hence the model of USSR was failed. Also, there was another reason that the Soviet Union was failed. It failed under unbearable economic burden. A lot of resources that was required to further nurture the Soviet economy, it was spent in the newly independent countries, like in the Asian countries or African countries, so that they could prevent the American influence. So these were some of the reasons that, and it's a blueprint that how from a superpower USSR was broken into pieces. Also, there is another factor that was there, that after Lenin, because during the Bolshevik Revolution, it was said that Lenin and Stalin, they both had executed various people from their party, from the opponents, whoever tried to disagree with them. In the Russian politics, it was seen that it was always one party or a totalitarian type of the government. The reason that I believe that the Soviet Union had collapsed, there were many reasons that were written, but I feel one of the most important reasons were that it was very, very centrally controlled government that was going on, and Russia being or the USSR being a country that had various ethnicity, various peoples. The centralized, this type of controlled, strict, centralized system does not work, and it was bound to break at one point of time. Had it been that these republics were given their autonomy within the state, I think that this could have been prevented. Even in India today, in India is a quasi-federal state, but the fact is that because of the over centralization that is happening, and slowly the state government is losing the control. More often it is seen that whenever there is a concurrent list, the situation of concurrent list is being brought up. Center gets the lion's share, and it is a very problematic situation. So if we have to learn from the collapse of the Soviet Union, and the story of the Soviet Union should not be read in terms of that that it's a history, like a country was formed and USSR was formed and USSR was dissolved. Rather, we should see it from the point of view of a case study, and in that I personally believe that the method the USSR was going on, it was somewhere responsible for the breakdown of the Soviet Union. Now, speaking about the Gorbachev, well, he tried to do reforms, he tried to introduce various policies, but unfortunately he also failed to open or to create the atmosphere that was required to bring such a change. And moreover, the mistake that Gorbachev had made, and perhaps he was very much influenced from the Western democracies. Russia was very different. Russia had a history that Russia was country of peasants, and there was a reason that the planned economy was going on. Now suddenly, if you come and if you change the economic model, it will backlash and it will backfire, and that happened. The Soviet Union had collapsed. Maybe another thing that I think that the Soviet Union was collapsed because, as I talked about while speaking about the formation of the USSR, and in that it was written that any republic can anytime they can separate themselves from the Union, and perhaps this is also the reason that the Soviet Union had collapsed.